All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited about this one here for the first of two shows today on Sportswire Radio because our guest is actually more dangerous than Tony Montana. He looks a heck of a lot better than Hannah Montana. He's much cooler, much better in the clutch than even Joe Montana. That's why they call him the infamous Montana. And that's why he's also a part of one of the most golden groups around in EBW and forever EBW, where he has been one of the longest running tag team champions in this sport and also part of the longest run for a tag team champion in the entire history of forever EBW. But also at the last show at the Winter Meltdown, he won that EBWIR championship here. He's going to talk about all of this and some. Our guest needs no further introduction, but because so many of his colleagues, his opponents, his enemies, everything else in between, and a bag of chips have gotten, it's time to take his place on Sportswire Radio's history and get that introduction that so many else have gotten. So with that, wait for it. Further ado here on the Sports Report. Number one. Sports Show. He is the reigning, defending EBW Pro, our champion of the world from the group Golden Dynasty. He is the Montana. The champ is here. Congratulations, my friend. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm great. I'm great. Hey, that was a heck of an introduction. Thank you, man.
Boy, I get that these days. I get people who randomly go and they say, you know, I really enjoy your platform, but I really enjoy those introductions. I say, well, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Thank you very much. And certainly, obviously, I don't know if he quite got those in the mean streets of Baltimore City. Maybe we'll get into that later on. But obviously, it is an absolute honor to have you here on Sportswire Radio. I've obviously gotten a chance to know you a little bit here over the past several days. We were speaking about making this happen, and I'm very, very excited to have you here, champ, especially for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio that are going to hear you for the first time. You know, I have a lot to talk about here when it comes to EBW, forever EBW, but I kind of got to ask you the question that I've asked different people, whether it's in DBW or you dabbled in for a brief period of time and EBW, and I have to ask you, what do you think about this Robert Pearson haircut?
Oh man, bro. I ain't gonna lie, right? When I first seen my boy with his haircut, bro, I was stoked. I said, look at my man, he's so fresh. I can't wait till I see him, bro. He got those daggone chops going and everything with the haircut. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah.
But
Bringing it.
did you recognize him at first? Because I had asked different guys. I asked the Blaze Ace Christianus. I asked obviously your colleague in the Golden Dynasty, Jackson Saber, about this. I asked Corey Graves. I asked a whole number of people about this, and everybody was kind of like, "Is he the same guy?" I mean, I'm kind of wondering. You know, I asked Aaron Jones about this. Of course, Aaron Jones, Mr. Pro Wrestler himself, extraordinaire Aaron Jones, and I was like, "Is he the same person?" I mean, did you recognize him?
Nah, man, I thought he was Sabretooth for a minute. I ain't gonna lie.
Well, I know I'm going to pay for this dearly when Mr. Pearson comes back to Sportswire and makes his grandiose return in a few weeks for sure. I'm sure
Yeah.
I'll pay for this dearly, but I mean, we're having fun. It's the new year, and obviously people want to say hello to you. I want to actually say hello. First of all, before I ask you about that EBWIR title, for my buddy out there in Australia, Mr. Ace Reed of the Wired Up podcast. He is out there. I believe it's 10 o'clock his time in Australia, 10 o'clock in the morning his time in Australia. So thank you, Ace. I hope you're doing well. He's the BWU world champion, and his page has over 750 subscribers on YouTube, and he was
Wow.
on the show last week. So thank you for that. I'll get to Mr. Saber in a second, but I have to ask you this question, especially for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio. Talk about winning that EBW IR championship in the last show of the year in 2023, and what does it mean to you to be the EBW IR champion?
Oh man, it means a lot. It means really like I'm gonna say like the most to me that I've done in wrestling so far. To share the ring with the man that I had to share the ring with in order to obtain this title, it meant so much to me, man. Because just like Max's Fatal always says, this is more than wrestling. And my brother in arms, he's the man. And for me to be able to get the spotlight and the position that I'm in, I'm tremendously grateful for it. This is the greatest moment of my career. I have many more to come, hopefully.
Oh,
And
you listen. You got many more to come. I have been saying this. I'm actually going to finish it for you, champ, if you don't mind. The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come. So this is going to be the first of many moments. I promise you. Listen, you're going to go on a year from now, 2 years from now. You're going to be in 7, 8 promotions, and you're going to forget this crazy guy that interviewed you with the long intro and the mutton chops and everything else. So you'll forget about me. You'll go on to bigger and better things. I promise you. I mean, listen, there's a lot of things I don't know much about in life, but I can promise you, champ, that this is only the beginning and the best is yet to come.
Oh, thank you, Tom. I appreciate it, man. And that's for the both of us. You know what I'm saying? The
Well,
best is
we'll see. Hopefully, I can certainly manage, but we'll worry about me one day. But for you, I mean, obviously being a champion is such a tremendous responsibility, especially for a company that's well respected in EBW. Obviously, EBW Pro, we have guys like Ricardo Rodriguez that have been here, and Shane Douglas, the franchise, Shane Douglas. I mean, I forever hear that in my head, and obviously Shane Douglas growing up here in New York, growing up in New York City, Shane Douglas was a guy I knew a lot about and followed his career, because he was a local guy, ECW, WCW, had a stint in the WWF, and obviously from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a different topic. But I mean, what's that like now, transitioning into the responsibility of being a top guy for such a well-respected company here in the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast in EBW Pro?
I mean, it's so surreal. I'm not even going to lie to you, brother. It's like a dream. It's kind of weird when you can really be a child. And growing up as a child, you witness these things on TV and you have these dreams as a little boy. I don't want to sound like Shawn Michaels, but I'm living I'm living my dream, brother. And I can remember my granddad always getting on me about doing wrestling moves off the end of his couches. And
I did have a few of those moments growing up in Brooklyn. My brothers and I did have a few of those moments for sure. We definitely did act out a couple of those moments. I can definitely remember in the Attitude Era doing a few of those things, and then it was like, well, okay, I'm not going to do that much longer. I don't think I have the skills you have, but those were definitely the days. And I guess then, since you kind of talked about your beginnings a bit, and I want to come back to there's a lot to talk about in EBW Pro and certainly also in Forever. I'm going to get to both of them for sure. But I mean, like, how did you get into wrestling? How did this journey start to where we've obviously said, you're more calm and collected in the clutch than Joe Montana. You're more eviler than Tony Montana. You look a lot better than Hannah Montana does these days. And how you became the infamous Montana. I mean, so how did it all start to where we are today, champ?
Well, I'm going to say probably about 14 years old. I was getting in trouble in school like any other little child. And
makes two of us. Don't feel too bad.
Yeah, welcome to the Trouble Club. Now I'm just playing.
Well, I'm sure my mother will be listening to this and will still chastise me on that. But hey, that's here nor there.
But I ended up, transitioning. Life was lifing for a young man at 14 years old. And to avoid the streets, I had already been in trouble. I couldn't be around the general population of kids, stuff like that. Just, having that name infamous for a reason. And my aunt is the actual reason as to why I got into wrestling. She lived in the east side of Baltimore. And my granddad took me to go see her and my cousins one day and my mom. And my aunt grabbed me by the hand. She was like, come here, I want to show you something. And took me across the street. And across the street from her house was the first time I actually seen a real wrestling ring. There was this company called EWW. Yeah, it was a backyard company called EWW. and I'll never forget those guys because I actually think we were the first YouTube wrestlers.
Oh wow, okay, okay.
And a lot of those guys went on the Maryland Championship. Some of those guys are wrestling for ACW,
MCW
CZW.
you mentioned, right? B-Well, I'm sure. B-Well I know very well. Sure.
Yeah, man. And just letting my aunt take me and guide me into a way that she knew that I liked wrestling. I love wrestling. And it took off from there. So life moved on 2 years later after me first joining this backyard promotion, and they disappeared, bro. I don't know what happened to them. I was lost in the system and living in a crazy city. So I could say probably about 19, 20 years old. I went to a Monday Night Raw with which is my wife now.
Oh,
Went to an episode of Monday Night Raw and saw one of my old friends I used to backyard wrestle with, and he was the current EWA heavyweight champion. And when I saw him, it blew my mind because I'm like, damn, Brian, what are you doing, bro? Like, what did I miss? You know what I'm saying? And gave me the information, and the rest is history.
Talk to me, and I have comments, and I'll say hello to everybody. Certainly, compadres of yours, opponents, frenemies, whatever you want to call it. But I'm curious in Baltimore, the streets of Baltimore. Now, I know a little bit about this because Baltimore actually, it's kind of sad to say in a way, maybe, but actually, where you grew up is actually some of the most dangerous streets, really, of any city in America. And talk about how did that shape your career and kind of the drive that you had to maybe get away from those streets. Again, the streets of Baltimore City and Baltimore and just in America, they've been on TV.
Yeah.
People have seen that, so obviously, what you did to be able to break away from that, that really shows a lot of, I think, determination and dedication on your part to kind of be able to get away from that. So talk to me, like, for the general public that may not know about that, how those experiences shaped you into the person you are today.
You want me to keep it 100 with you?
You can say anything you want, long as you don't say anything about like some females, blah blah blah, some like really perverted stuff. You can say anything you want on my platform. Just don't.
I'll be honest, man. It was losing friends to murder at 14 years old. Two of my closest friends were killed at 14.
I'm sorry.
Right in front of me, one of them, and another one lost his life in the arms of one of my best friends.
I'm sorry.
My grandfather. He pushed me. He determined me to keep a good head on my shoulders and to try to get an education and to try to keep myself out of the way of the things that were taking the lives of my friends. And through the graces of God, through the graces of Wellington Sylvester Moore Johnson, I'm still here to this day, holding up the title, making them proud. So the city life was crazy. It was wild, and just really the determination of my family too, man. I had major family support. The foundation was great. You know what I'm saying? My granddad, my grandma, my sisters, definitely. I'm here with my sister now, and she support me in such a major way, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm really thankful to be a survivor of gunshots, to be a survivor of gang violence, to be a survivor of going to prison.
That's okay. You're the champion. I'll let you say whatever you want. You're the champion. All right? It's your platform tonight. All right? You go ahead. Talk to me. Tell me, about those experiences. I mean, like, was there ever, when you're seeing friends and close friends and family be victims of these things, was there ever moments that you said, hey, I don't know if I'm going to survive, let alone be a wrestler? I mean, I grew up in New York City, but I didn't have it to that degree that you had. And I think a lot in the audience that are hearing this probably would say the same thing. So kind of talk to me, were there moments that you said, I mean, if I survive tomorrow, I mean, I'd be a happy man. I mean, just talk to me about that.
There was no happiness for real. During being 14 years old, 15 years old, trying to process what murder is, losing the friends and jail and stuff like that. It shapes your mind to know two things. Either you're going to make it or you're not. We come from areas where as though it's either basketball or drug dealing. And I did both of them, and it got me nowhere. Wrestling is what was a prominent thing in my life, especially once I had my first child. It was never a thought of tomorrow. I'm not even gonna lie. Today is just not promised. We ain't promised to be here today or tomorrow, so you have to live in the moment, and you cherish every moment that you can. So the moments in life is what helped mold me growing up, especially with my grandfather being the leader. My grandfather fought in the Korean War.
Well, thank you for your service. I thank him for his
You know,
service.
yeah, man, he's definitely a vet, and he kept my mind straight. Yes, sir. No, sir. Understanding what respect was and how to carry you a long way, and just being able to help shape the mind of a young man to go in a different route. You know, it was rough, but just like anything and everything for everybody else that lives in the hood or lives rich, we all got our own problems in our own ways. So
Yes, but your problem, people are rich. I mean, with all due respect to the rich people, I mean, I certainly don't. I may talk about myself in a second, but obviously, there's a certain different problem that they or individuals here they have versus those like yourself who didn't know if it's a life or death moment. So let me ask you a simple question before I will get to comments. I want to say hello to everybody. I promise I'll get you in, but let me ask you a question. And I don't even know how your answers, but is it fair for me to ask you that wrestling saved your life?
yeah, between wrestling and my child, yeah, because I had a daughter when I was very young. I was 18,
Oh
no,
wow.
20. I'm sorry, very young, and my daughter really gave me a lot of motivation to go forward. Um, Wrestling events that I went to, man, I went to one wrestling event as a child. My
Okay.
oldest daughter, she's probably been to about 12. Um, she
Well, if it
loves
makes you
wrestling.
feel better, I didn't go to any wrestling events growing up either. It was basically as a kid, I think I went to two baseball games and I went to one hockey game. It was basically like my parents. It was like it was either I played CYO basketball or it was basically I got like a small stipend of an allowance. That was it. We weren't asking for anything, so it wasn't going to go to WrestleMania. We weren't going to any front row seat shows. That was it. So I
Nothing, yeah.
actually sympathize with you on that. Life was. I do remember a period of time, not to the degree you had it, but a period of time growing up that you were thankful you had a meal, you had clothes over your head, and that was it. So I
Yeah,
can
man.
sympathize with you.
Yeah. You talking about a chicken wing and some water for dinner.
Hey, you know what? I mean, listen, there was a period of time my mother we had leftovers the whole week, and that was it. All right, yeah, okay. I don't want to say nothing else, so I could
Yeah.
definitely, appreciate all that. Let me get to some comments here. I want to say a little number of people. First of all, I actually want to bring them up real quick because my buddy Michael Blackheart, his father-in-law is actually a referee for a company that we all should follow, XCW Explosive Championship Wrestling. They are the gold standard in this sport out there in Shelbyville, Indiana, and he actually has a good question. I think it's a great one. Also, what's your one message in wrestling, champ?
My one message:
Yeah, what's your one message in wrestling? Yeah.
be you. Be you. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of different, no pun intended, characters in wrestling. Be yourself.
Well, yeah, no comment. No comment.
Be yourself. You know what I'm saying? And go hard. Believe in yourself and go hard, man. The ceiling is breakable.
Hey,
Break
listen,
the
the
ceiling.
sky is the limit for sure. Sky is the
Yeah,
limit.
man.
And shout out to Michael's
Thank you,
father-in-law.
Michael, for that question, man.
And Michael's father is the senior official in XCW, Festus Davis. So I definitely want to say hello to him. Let me bring up Jackson Saber. I'll get to Jackson later on for sure. I want to say hello to Jules NYC. How you doing, Jules? Obviously, Jules, we definitely like having her on Sportswire. And she says hello, Tom and Mr. Montana.
Hey,
Definitely thank
Jules.
you, Jules, for tuning in. Obviously, she's from the Big Apple. Certainly, we know a thing or two about that. The man that you've definitely squared off with, and certainly took that championship away from Mr. Austin James. I've had Mr. James That means I have to get a new USB. Sorry about that. Ask him how he won that championship. I respect Montana, but what he did was low, and I can't wait to get my payback. Well, I guess we'll right to regular because I know you and him have been feuding back and forth quite a bit in EBW Pro. So I mean, yeah, you got the championship though, but maybe I'll ask it in a different way that maybe or maybe not Mr. James will appreciate. But as far as I understand, right, in the record books, it doesn't
Mhm.
matter how you win the championship, you have the championship. So
Long as you got it. That's what matters. I'm the guy with the title. Not worried about nothing he talking about. Talking about some ask him how. He know how. He know how he got his ass kicked. So yeah, man. And
maybe
it's more,
conversely, well, how about this? You ready for this? How about conversely, when I talk about forever EBW, maybe we turn the tables and talk about the other way.
yeah, man. Hey, look, you hip. You real hip. I like
Because
that.
in forever EBW, can't we say the same thing about another group called
Uh-huh.
Ego and how
Yeah,
they've
yeah,
certainly had their own tack. Just saying. I mean, certainly,
yeah. I
we love
mean,
Austin.
yeah, look, man, them guys was steamrolling us, man. I took a triple power bomb that felt like I was power bombed to the equator of the earth,
Well, you might have
and
been. You might have.
yeah, bro, let me tell you something. To each his own. You do dirt and dirt gonna follow, and I don't mind doing dirty shit.
Well, it's
So
at the end of the day, what I've learned, it's wrestling, and these things do happen. These things do go
somebody
back
had
and
to do it.
forth.
Somebody
Listen,
had to do it. Look at all them people he beat. And I was one of them. I wasn't gonna
and
let it
his,
happen again.
listen, I love Austin. He's come on the Sports Wire, and he's talked a lot about that run. But these runs do come to an end. Speaking to
Yes,
people that we
sir.
know
Big
well,
time.
Mr. Roland Havoc, he's certainly here with
See
us,
that?
having a drink. Yep, Mr. Havoc. Yep, Mr. Havoc's here. He says hello.
Hey,
Um,
what's up, Roland?
have you drank a beer or two with Roland? If you don't mind me asking, to break the fourth wall.
I don't drink beer.
Actually, that makes two of us. Believe it or not, I actually do not drink at all. I do not drink. I just don't drink it. But what I do drink is this, which is going to kill me in about 20 years.
Hey,
But
get some water, bro.
you know what? I'm always tired. I got to be honest. I really don't sleep much. So unfortunately, I'm probably going to, in my blood, most people would have like red blood. I would probably have soda instead of like my blood. Like you cut me up, you cut me, it'd be like soda that would come out. It
Hey,
was
so
funny
it's
though.
cool, though, man. To each his own.
Yeah. I'm gonna be killed for it. Nothing but gold, bro. We'll definitely get into that. Michael
Hmm.
wants to say, "Lucky, my wife doesn't like wrestling, but she did wear a wrestling shirt on my birthday." That's
Oh,
kind of
wow.
funny.
Cool,
That's
cool,
kind of
bro.
funny. Yeah, that's. I always say that's kind of like the funny thing is. I'll probably make you laugh, champ, as we're here with, of course, the infamous Montana, who's a part of the group Golden Dynasty, is the brand new
Sure.
EBWIR champion. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportzwire Radio, and your voice of all wrestling matters. All I ever do these days is wear wrestling shirts. I went out to like it was this famous kosher steakhouse here in Brooklyn, and now New York City is Manhattan last year, and everybody shows up in these fancy, well dressed up, and I take my jacket off and I got a wrestling shirt on. I got like
Yeah. Yeah.
everybody looks at me like, "What are you wearing?" I'm like, "Well, I'm wearing my wrestling shirt because
Yeah.
I'm not a suit and tie man. I never will be." But
Hey, people do
Jules
that,
wants to
though.
say, I'm so sorry to hear about your friends, Montana. It is so wonderful that you've persevered and overcome many hurdles to be where you are today. And I definitely agree about that. And I
Yeah, thank
definitely
you,
echo
man.
that.
By the graces of God, Jules. By the graces of God.
At the end, why is my phone going off? Okay. At the end of the day, drink what you like, have fun, have a good time, all the love. But I have AJ's back, brother. Ooh.
Ah, yes, sir. I know. It's all good. I got something for each and every last one of y'all. I ain't tripping, bro. You see what happened, right? They were steamrolling this EBW Pro. I
Yep.
think Austin James, he didn't lose a match. He beat Homeless Vaughn. And these are good names. These are good guys.
I watched the match actually. I watched a lot of EBW TV in the different platforms over the past, I would say, 2 days. So yeah, I mean, listen, Austin's had a great run. There's no question that his run and what Ego has done, and I guess maybe in a way, whether it's EBW Pro, forever EBW, it seems to me that Ego and the Golden Dynasty have almost been kind of locked almost tooth and nail. Is that fair for me to say? And why have you guys gone back and forth over this past year?
Well, I'm gonna honestly say, at least from Golden Dynasty standpoint, because I'm speaking for us right at the moment, we always going after the big fish. I don't know how much time life has taught me, every day is not given. You feel me? And every day you appreciate it. So as long as I'm living and breathing, every time I cross paths with a big dog, it don't matter if it's on the street, it don't matter if it's on the football field, basketball court, wrestling ring, MMA cage. I've been in every facet of what you can think. No fear here. You feel me? It's just more so of going after the people that got the name. I didn't have a name coming back into wrestling. I was out of wrestling for over 10 years, and I had to find my way back, and I did. But it was going after the big fish. I ain't no little shrimp. I'm a big shark in the water.
Well, I got to ask you about that, champ. You said something really fascinating there, and I'll come back to obviously Austin in a second. But you were away from wrestling for over 10 years. It reminds me, this would be now over 2 years ago at the time in England. He was the LWF world champion, Reynaldo, and he had been away from wrestling for about almost that long, and he had won the LWF world title right around the time I had him. He was their champion for a while, and he was done. He was retired. I'm sure it was a different story than yours. And I'm curious about that. Why were you away from the sport, and what led you to return?
This crazy city I live in, I'm not even gonna lie. Uh, I had when my first promotion closed and I didn't have any direction. Um, I hooked up with some guys that were like from where I live at. The county guys from the city is too far, and I didn't have a car at the time. I hooked up with this promotion that was far county based, and I wrestled for them like twice. It was really hard living in Baltimore City, seeing as how the faith in wrestling and things like that aren't too prominent, and being confused and being lost and trying to understand life, being shot, trying to get a job, take care of my child, be a man to my woman, like life was life,
Sure.
And I couldn't see it in my future. I really couldn't, bro. It's like my dream was took and I had to learn how to be a dad and a father. Until, like I said, I started getting that burning desire back. Took my child to a few Monday Night Raws and some SmackDowns, and me and my wife went to some pay-per-views.
Oh, wow.
So
Well, you got a great wife then. Your wife went to go to Raw and pay-per-views with you. Yeah, I am with Michael Blackheart in this one. I mean, yeah, your wife, definitely, your wife's a keeper. I just want to let your wife know that.
She right.
And your wife is a keeper because your wife was going to Raws, going to pay-per-views with you. I mean, most people, when they talk, when you hear female hears wrestling, they run the other way. So the fact that your wife said those things, God bless your wife.
Her favorite wrestler is The Undertaker.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, then she definitely knows her stuff then. Okay. She knows her stuff.
Since I met this girl when we were younger, we were children, and we got our first apartment together. I can remember watching, I can't remember which WrestleMania it was, Batista versus The Undertaker. Oh, my
that
goodness.
might have been WrestleMania
23?
I was about to say that. I thought we
ordered that pay-per-view, and it shocked me to see how into this match she was. Like, I realized she liked wrestling as much as I did, and it's just a perfect combination. We get up on mornings and we watch wrestling together. She watches me wrestle. She lets me know when I'm doing good and when it's not doing so good and what needs to change. This is my wise woman.
It's funny you said that, as my guest Thursday night was DJ Walbert in XCW from the group Unholy, and his girlfriend, which is shoot here, Mistress Candy, there is everybody calls her the Candy Crush for those that are in the locker room, and she's gotten into wrestling, and she's now learning, and she's actually been on TV, and she's gotten physical in it, and you see that bond there. But it's what you have there, I think, is very unique. Let me ask you a sort of a similar point on what I asked DJ. When your wife watches you in the ring in EBW and Forever EBW, does she give you honest feedback? Does she know enough of it to talk about maybe certain things? Because we all watch this on YouTube, obviously, and I have the plugs. I'll bring back up on the screen in a second. Does she watch it in a different way and talks to you and things that maybe you actually use to help you improve in the ring or anything like that? I'd just be curious about that question.
Yeah, she does. No cap, bro. She does. She's really like the manager you don't see on screen. Real shit. She's like the manager you don't see on screen. Pick it up here, pick it up there. No, that move's not for you. Look, pick it up in your entrance. You know what I'm saying? Keep chasing your dreams, bro. Last match wasn't as good. She keep it a buck with me. Bro. And I appreciate that because it keep me on my toes. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm gonna get the truth from somebody that's the closest to me, so it means the most to me. Not to sit here and say that I can't take criticism, but it's not criticism coming from her, if you ask me. It's just more so helping me keep that straight and narrow so I can succeed and be successful, because that's the most important part.
No, I think that listen, people give criticism and they give it in different ways, but I think to the fact that your wife actually knows a little bit about the sport, I think certainly helps in terms of maybe just getting maybe some feedback or points. Obviously, listen, you're the champ, so obviously you're doing pretty well, so I don't think it's really an issue about that. But now I was curious about something else, and I will bring up Austin James' comment in a second, but I was curious, and I asked Jackson this question, and I'm sure a lot of people ask you about this recently. What did it mean to you to be recently in Pro Wrestling Illustrated?
Oh my goodness, surreal, bro. Like I couldn't believe it. You feel me? I'm like, damn, man.
How many
PWI?
copies of the magazine did you buy?
Man, look, it is hard for me to find that mag. I've been to
Really?
30
Wow. Okay.
different stores. I'm trying to go in the store and just buy it. I'm not an Amazon guy. Like, my wife's the Amazon person.
I remember growing up. I said this when Jackson was on. I actually remember as a kid that I actually remember for a year or two with my allowance money actually buying the Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine.
Yes.
There was a little candy store where I grew up, and they would have the Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine. I would look through the magazine, and I would look through it for, let's say, all the house show results, all the independent shows, and I would look for like the photos. So yeah, I actually, the Pro Wrestling Illustrated is such a big deal. And in fact, I spoke about it on the show earlier in the year about a wrestler that's come on our show who actually made the PWI 500 in part because of my interview, actually. So I mean, I just thought to ask you, like, like that's got to be a surreal moment for you.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. We used to grow up reading the magazines the same way. You know what I'm saying? Go to the stores, you see PWI magazine. It is crazy to just even be in the annals of that magazine. You know what I'm saying? You got guys on the front of that book that are on TV and they're making millions and millions of dollars. These are people that I idolize, people that I love, people that I like. And to be mentioned in the same magazine, for the longest time. Man, I still got my Ultimate Warrior magazine when he beat Hogan from WrestleMania 6.
Yeah, I actually, you know what? It's funny you said that, and I don't want to go too much on a dive on WWF, but I know I have it in my basement, and I actually have the magazine. It's actually the magazine right before the Macho Man Randy Savage had left the WWF. They did an interview with him. He was on like a beach, and they were asking about his future, and they were talking to him, and it was kind of like, well, I don't know. I have to think about it. That's actually the last magazine he was in. It might be the October or November 1994 edition. I remember it actually off the top of my head. So yeah, I mean, I do remember my first memories as a little boy in for following wrestling was the WWF magazine. So sure,
yes, sir, WWF magazine, and I think the first time I saw PWI Insider, I didn't know what it was. I seen a bunch of Japanese guys on the front of it.
Yes. They used to be big with All Japan, New Japan. Yep, when All Japan.
Yeah, I was just so intrigued by wrestling. Like, I just read the magazines, and I think that's why when I was a young man, we had WCW versus the World. I didn't pick none of the WCW guys. I knew who all the Japan guys were because of PWI.
I remember that, actually. I do remember that. Yes, Japan and WCW had a sort of talent exchange for a while. Yes, I remember that very well.
Yeah, man. PWI, thank you guys. Y'all have made a dream become a reality, and I could be never more grateful because I honestly want to be the biggest example I can be to my children and my family, especially my two cousins that's part of Golden Dynasty, Maxis and Cassius Fatal.
I'm going to get to them. I'm going to get to the Golden Dynasty. I promise you I'm going to get to them. But I want to plug this EBW Pro on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at EBW Pro. That's where you can actually see firsthand on the Facebook page of EBW Pro exactly where Mr. the infamous Montana was on there, and that's why you're going to find out why he's more eviler than Tony Montana. He looks a lot better than Hannah Montana these days, and he's certainly cool, calm, and collected much more than, of course, some guy Joe Montana was. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters here on Sportswire Radio. If you want to listen to us anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, you can listen to us on our platform, sportswireradio.org. And I'll be back here tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Eastern time, to induct as the 10th member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, the 2023 XCW Money in the Bank winner, Jackson Law, the law of the land. Jackson Law was actually wrestling. Get this. He was actually wrestling on Thursday night's XCW Encounters episode 4 for their EBW world title. They actually well, it's a different acronym for EBW, but he was wrestling. Yes, he was wrestling against Brogan O'Shea for the EBW World Championship there. So Jackson was going to talk about that. He was in the main event. He's actually wrestled in 8 states, 26 companies, won over 40 championships. I've had him on a couple of times. He's going to talk about all that. And I'm going to have a guy that you know very well, I'm sure, 10 o'clock tonight later on, in Mr. Big Tex, the big man of DBW. Big Tex is going to be here. He's going to talk about his match with Mr. Judgment and much more. So you can check us out here also anytime on YouTube at Sportswire Radio 6579 backspace streams. Check us out for all our past, present, and future shows here on Sportswire. Speaking of XCW, I want to say a little real quick to our announcer, the best in the business, Trinity. Trinity Parker is here. She does a great job with all things related to XCW. Speaking of people, I got to give a huge shout out to. Huge shout out to. I want to do it because he is the tribal cheese. I acknowledge him. He's out here listening to us all the way in the UK, and he was just getting ready. He was training. He's hitting the gym again. He's hitting out all those weights and hitting the punching bags because he's going to be back in the ring 3 weeks from today at Colory Championship Wrestling. It's actually Colory Community Wrestling. I call it Colory Community Wrestling. He is the tribal cheese. He's going to be there at Fighter Strike 3. He has entered their Rumble. Their winner of that Rumble gets a championship choosing shot of their own. 3. The tribal cheese is one of the favorites. Maybe one day you and the tribal cheese should go at it. It'll be UK versus USA, Baltimore versus London, whatever else you want to throw in between in a bag of chips. Like, of course, the legendary Downtown Julie Brown from the UK, by the way. The tribal cheese definitely knows Julie Brown. And he says, good evening, my spare 10 minutes is dedicated into tuning into Sportswire. I certainly hope after Fighter Strike 3 that when the tribal cheese wins that Rumble or certainly squares off and does a number, that he comes onto Sportswire and takes his rightful place in the history of the annals of the Hall of Fame and comes on and talks about what he's up to, because it has been a long time since the tribal cheese has been on Sportswire. We acknowledge him. Thank you for tuning in. He also says thanks to the show. Also, subscribe to his YouTube page at Mad Manx because he's got over 1,000 subscribers. And by the way, get this. He hangs out with the likes of Rhea Ripley, Cody Rhodes. He hangs out with the likes of Bobby Lashley. I've seen him with Matt Damon. Yeah, he knows all of them. He gets all their autographs. They know who he is. They ask him about CCW. They ask him about being the man who wears who eats cheese in the ring, and they ask him about all the things he does. They ask him about his background as a shoot fighter. They ask him about serving in the military because they like, you know what? I really like this guy, Tribal Cheese. I got to get a chance to know him. So definitely subscribe to this man's YouTube page. He is a true living legend. He loves this sport. He breathes it. And the facts of the matter are, he also speaks his mind. He calls out the nonsense. He calls out the BS on those that do dirty and despicable things. He calls them out. That's why he's awesome. Thank you for tuning in.
Sound like my kind of guy.
He is definitely your kind of guy. We hope to see him one day here, but we'll certainly come back to that when he's on in a few weeks. And Tuesday, he'll tune in when his buddy Jam Dog is on here, 8 o'clock British Standard Time. But you know what? I want to ask you, obviously, a question that will tie into the Golden Dynasty in a second for. And I've been asking people this question a lot over the past few. So obviously, 2024 has just started. And, what is your goals for 2024, Champ?
2024, I'm not gonna lie, be better than I was in 2023 because the train don't stop. Being able to travel and be my own man and do my own thing, I can set my own goals, and I set high goals. I don't want little goals I can achieve to make myself feel better. I want the bar to be high as can be because I have a lot of people looking up to me and that admire me. So I want them to not only see the success, I want them to see the hard work that goes in with it. You know what I'm saying? And just to show everybody that your dreams are achievable. Believe in yourself. 2024, I don't only plan on keeping this. I plan on gaining another title as well. So the same guy that was on here talking that shit earlier, you better still be listening because you got something else that I want, bro.
Now, I think that's in another, and I think that's in another promotion that I'm going to get to shortly, Mr. Austin James. I mean, certainly Mr. James, who says he's the gold collector, obviously with the ego, and he says that championship. But, obviously, I would think here, Champ, right? I want to come into Forever EBW, and you definitely hold that title up. I'm going to take your comment off the screen here, Mr. James. I'm going to take a Sportswire radio banner off the screen. Pull up that championship. What a pretty championship that is. Obviously, EBW, one of the premier companies in this country, in the Mid-Atlantic, a place to be. Everybody wants that title. But, in Forever EBW.
It's hard, bro. It's got everybody's name on there.
And I'm glad your name is here, and I'm glad that title is with you because I'm talking to you also about a company called Forever EBW, where I have to think that there's a lot of unfinished business, not only for you, but the Golden Dynasty.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. Everybody thinks that the dynasty has just crumbled from its foundation.
I asked that question on Monday's show. I mean, what is the future of the dynasty? And, Jackson had his thoughts on it. And what is your thoughts now on it?
From the beginning, Golden Dynasty was designed for this family to stand side by side and not have a leader. Okay, we all kings, and we all have our ups and downs as a family. I for one am from a very deep family, and I know how things can go. There's no crumbling. The foundation may be rocked a little bit. Some guys may think they have knocked us off our pivot, but nonetheless, we are side by side, strong together, linked in. And this family ain't going nowhere. We having some ups and downs. That's all it is. To really put everything in retrospect, just say like a hurricane hit us. It was cold outside and shit got blue everywhere. Dynasty was meant for each and every last one of us to get our crowning achievements, other than tag team. As you can see, champ, Jackson Sabre, Ronnie Holt's Memorial Champion.
I was gonna get to that. Yep.
Max's Fatal, Cash's Fatal, they are also on their way. Coming forward, they have goals as well, and I make sure we're all goal oriented.
So is everything cool with the Fatals in Jackson? Is everything cool with them? Is everything everything nice and harmonious?
No, no.
Well, that's why I had to ask.
Nah, man, shit's in the uproar right now, and I honestly think everything gonna be all right. You feel me? I talk to my boys, I talk to my guys. We're a fighting family, even if we have to fight amongst each other. So,
I was going to ask you about that. As again, we're here with the infamous Montana. Of course, you can catch him on EBW Pro, also Forever EBW, and certainly I'll pull up the Forever EBW plug. And he's the EBW IR champion of the world. Also in Forever EBW, he's a part of being the longest running tag team champions in that company's history. Let me ask you though a question. Obviously, Cassius and Max's Fatal are your cousins. You're obviously blood. You guys are related. Jackson, though, technically is not family. So I'm sure you can talk to the Fatals in a lot different light than Jackson. I think at least it's safe to say that. So, I mean, is it fair for me to say that maybe that your conversations with them are different than the conversations you have with Jackson Sabre about Golden Dynasty?
No,
Tell me why.
all.
Tell me why.
Because he's a part of this family, regardless. See, it's kind of hard to explain in a way you just got to live it, right? At one point in time when I was homeless, I ended up with some folks that were over West Baltimore, and, they accepted me as family. Open arms, fed me like I was one of their own. I got in trouble with everybody else like I was one of their own. They helped raise me, made sure I got a job and everything like that. So, I understand the definition of, blood thicker than water and all of that other shit. You create your own families, man. You know what I mean? And that guy's our family. Regardless of what Maxis has to say or Cassius has to say, Jackson Sabre is a part of the Golden Dynasty. Jackson Sabre is with infamous Montana. That man has been with me every step of the way. Even my first debut on the pros. He had an injury, and that's my boy, man. That's my boy. He ain't going nowhere.
But
so,
even if
equally, I talk to him equally.
But even if Cassius and Maxis see it differently, if they see it differently, you still say the same thing, though. I just want to make sure you still see the same.
Yeah, we have our own agendas. We've been too successful together. A lot of people like to say that we had that free bird rule when it came to tag team titles and shit. I don't think so. Like I told Double G, it's not the free bird rule. You gave me the ball, and I ain't dropping it.
Well, you guys in Double G have kind of had, at times, a rather, how can I put this in a nice way, kind of a complicated or confusing history, it seems, in EBW Forever this past season. Obviously, he certainly said some things, and you guys, lost those tag team championships, unfortunately. I mean, I know you guys were the longest running champions, but do you want to get those titles back in 2024 when things resume? I mean, has that been on your mind? I know there's a few other things I'm going to get to in a second, but, talk to me about that.
Oh, of course. I feel like we were cheated out of history. You know what I'm saying? Because we had so much more to come, so much more to give. We were sitting at the top. We're the longest reigning, tag team champions in the history of that company. And for everybody, I think the words is love to hate us. They love to hate us out there.
Well, people, listen, when people are successful, people certainly grow bitter about it. They grow jealous about it. I mean, we see it in football, right? Obviously, the Chiefs have won. People don't like the Chiefs. The Patriots, when they were winning, people hated the Patriots. LeBron, for example, and there are people that love LeBron, but there are people that absolutely despise him. So we see it all the time, in sports. Teams or individuals that are extremely successful, people don't like it because they feel like that, that they become too
See,
successful and want to knock them off.
we're bringing the dynamic of something different. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Tell
And
me why.
people, they love it because of the grittiness, the rawness, the grunge that we're bringing with it. It's kind of like when Public Enemy hit WCW back in the day. They didn't know what the hell was going on, man. It was
Yeah.
just, that's how I feel. And
It's a
I'm
good point. Yeah,
feeling
in
like I'm
PW,
bringing,
they brought something in that we hadn't seen
yeah,
before in the mainstream. That's
oh,
a
of
fair
course,
point.
man. And I'm thinking like, they love us. They do love us. But at the same time, there's a lot of people don't want to see us in that spot. And hey, I can't blame them. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, I came in attacking the big sharks. They had spots that I wanted. So I can't blame them for wanting to knock us off our pivot and take us out the mountaintop. But yeah, that hurt, honestly, because we were making history. And I feel like the run wasn't over. But if you pay attention to how many times we were double booked and how many times we had an extra partner that wasn't a part of the dynasty.
I mean, you guys were in 8-man tags. You guys were in tags with other people, and
Yeah.
you had to deal with certainly Double G. You dealt with Ego. I mean, and this guy that put you in a body bag at the last time we saw you doing Sean Newman, who I feel like, we were talking about this off-air, champ. I felt like you and Sean Newman wrestled each other more times than everybody in the entire roster combined wrestled each other. I mean, like you and Sean Newman, what did you wrestle him like 5 times this past season or something like that? It was just,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
why?
I mean, the spirit of competition, bro. He brings something else out of me that nobody else does. You know what I'm saying? And
Well, the matches, I will say the matches that you guys had were actually, great matches. And I think really, I want to go on the record and saying this, by the way, as the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportswire Radio, and your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters, the Reverend Tom Bryce. What really impressed me about those matches and your ring ability, champ, if I could, is that, for a big guy, you do different things. You're not just this traditional big guy that goes out there, sits down and does punches and does power bombs. You go out there and you mix it up on the outside. You go out there and do certain moves that, I think you did like the reverse hip toss, almost like a neck breaker. You turn. I mean, it was like different moves that you do in the ring that I think kind of almost show you in a way as very versatile for what you do in your size. So I think the matches itself, leave aside, who won and lost, definitely showed, I think, in what you bring in your arsenal. But, I still say, why so many times?
it's a good fight, man. I love a good challenge. You know what I mean? Keep you on your toes. It's like sometimes that's why I don't mind, doing pulling double duty, because if one of those matches can be with Sean Newman, I always love it to be. It's kind of like when you get that match in, you've had your match, or like when Kobe went to practice, he was the last one there, shooting the ball still. You know what I mean? It's good rec time, bro. It's good rec time.
Let me ask you a follow-up on that. My follow-up question would be, is when you wrestle somebody that frequently, do you feel like in a way that actually it brings out more of the best in you? There are sometimes, there are wrestlers almost like in a way, how can I put this for the general audience that may not know this? When sometimes a wrestler wrestles somebody on like WWE TV, before that they do what's called like a test run, meaning they'll wrestle at a couple of house shows to kind of see what they can bring to the table, see if they mesh. Do you feel like Sean was that partner for you this year that, what? I'm going right with him. I want to go with him. I want to wrestle him. I'm comfortable with him. I'm safe with him. He brings out the best in me. I bring out the best in him. Was that in a way for you this past season with him? I'm curious on that.
Kind of. It was just more of a competitive type of thing, I honestly believe. He knows that I'm the man, and I knew that he was the man. And, kick my ass, I'll kick your ass. What's up? Like,
well,
course,
I would have to think you still have unfinished business with him because, we saw the season end and you didn't get up. You were put in that body bag after everything you went through. And I mean, you even had, Chaos Conspiracy at your guys' side to help you. Speaking of people, different people aligning with. And I would have to think that when the season resumes in a few months, that there's still unfinished business between you and Sean Newman, the unhinged now Sean Newman.
Oh, of course, and it just makes it that much more sweeter that he's a part of Ego now. You know what I'm saying? Now that he's lined up with Ego, it makes it that much more sweeter. So I can keep on going down the list of people who are beating up in that group. Sean Newman, I love you, brother, but you're gonna have to get that butt whipped again. It's the spirit of competition, and I love it. He brings the fight. I mean, I know when you guys watch the matches, a lot of people that sits at home watch the matches, they can't feel, through the screen what we're feeling. But bro,
no, I can't. I'd be completely honest, and I watch a lot of wrestling. I'm sure you're aware of throughout our scene here, the underground, the independents, and I can't feel what you guys go through. Yeah, I would completely agree.
He brings it in a different way. He's total. I feel like, I'm not gonna lie, because I've never done a death match in my life. I've never done a body bag match in my life.
Well, I just had on, but speaking of that, it's funny you say that because I actually had on Jimmy Controversy twice. I had on Mikey Anarchy a few days ago, and I had on Hardcore, and I had on Obey, and they're considered to be 4 of like the biggest current deathmatch wrestlers. So, I mean, if you actually change your mind, I could certainly ask them. And I'm sure you actually know the Brooklyn Prodigies because they're in Pro Wrestling Venom and they wrestle for Jimmy. So I mean, if you need help, I could change your mind. Maybe not.
Yeah. Hey, I don't mind that at all.
And by the way, you'll chuckle on this before you finish that point. Mikey Anarchy, when he was on the show Tuesday, you'll laugh at this. Actually, you'll even laugh. He actually took his shirt off and showed us all the welts on his back from all the cuts in the death matches. And the running joke was, can we play connect the dots with his back? And it was kind of like funny. And then we had Obey on, who was going to XPW now, and he's now a part of Grimm's Toy Shop GTS. Everybody knows Grimm's Toy Shop.
GTS, yeah.
Yeah, and he actually on the air, you'd actually think this would be really real. He pulled out a gun on the air. He actually pulled.
Oh man!
He pulled. Julie, I think, was watching that. She probably could comment on this, but he actually pulled out a gun basically to show his opponent that he's basically not fronting. So I'm like,
yes, pulled a blicky out. What's wrong with
him? Well, no, I think he was doing it. He said he liked me off the air. He's like, I like you. I really like you. It was more, I was showing my opponent that basically, like, I'm real. And that was basically
okay. I mean, hey, that's pretty cool, man. That's a cool way to let somebody know.
And then last night when we closed the show, my regular sports show, I actually had a guy that came on that's a fan of mine, and he basically brought his newborn on the air. His wife just gave birth. Yeah, nice. So interesting. But but going back then to Ego, obviously Havoc, Graves, James, and Newman. I mean, do you guys have the stuff, though, to beat them? I mean, do you guys – I mean, I hate to bring them up because I feel like I'm always bringing up every show on Sportswire. Are you guys – do you need Chaos Conspiracy to go after Ego? Because it seems like now you guys are on the same side with Chaos Conspiracy. What do you say to that?
What's the cliche, wise woman? The enemy of the enemy is thy friend?
Frenemies, yeah. The frenemies idea. Yeah.
Look. We all getting our butts kicked by the same people. You know what I'm saying? And those guys ain't that bad. Plus, they know I got the smoke. So, you know what I'm saying? They're ushering in a whole nother way of getting your butt kicked. Ego has a lot of problems. And they cause all these problems to themselves. Hence the word ego. So you got some dogs out here in the yard that's willing to bite back and willing to shake the shit out you too.
And you guys, I would imagine, still have unfinished business with Double D and DVG. I would imagine still unfinished business there as well.
Yeah. Even though I'm holding EBW Pro Championship right now, I do want my tag team titles back. And if it's fitting and the time is right, because I feel like there was so many things against us. I got missed in the eyes by Sean Newman. Freaking, what's this guy's name? DJW. We want to call him
DJW. It's funny you said that about DJW because I'm actually supposed to have him on real soon. I don't know if it's going to be tonight because I have big text and I only can do so much in the voice, but within the next week, I promise I'm going to have DJW on. So is there something you might want to add to DJW? Because he's going to be on Sportswire very soon. Yeah.
I would really like to know what was his whole thought process during this match when Double G put him in this match with us, because he's the reason. He stood there and watched Maxis get pinned. He stood there and did nothing the entire match and then wants to step up and be a part of the War Games team when War Games is starting next season. So where your brain at, bro? You know what I'm saying? I would like to know, are you trying to sabotage us for what? Because you can't be a part of us, or you want your ass kicked by me, bro? Like,
That's
what's
a
your
good
deal?
question. I mean, I guess if you don't mind, I mean, maybe I could ask him this question. Would you
Yeah,
be all right
yeah,
with that if I
yeah,
asked him
I'll
that
be
question?
100% fine.
Maybe I said to him, hey, what did you think? We watched the match, we saw kind of what happened, and what was going through your mind, if anything at all? Because it seems like nothing was going through his
Yeah,
mind.
you just standing there. Like, come on, bro. You just stood there and you cost us tag team titles. So, I mean, I get it. I really do. I get it. We was all the way up here. A lot of these guys been in this company 3, 5, 7, 12 years. I was brought into this company and within a year made myself a name, a marketable asset, and a valuable asset to this company. I surpassed the likes of DJW. I surpassed the likes of certain other people that I ain't gonna name. I ain't name dropping, but you know, to be able to be who I am and to have the people beside me who I have beside me, I think that, a lot of people are trying to find their way in, but we were trying to find a way to knock us off.
It's funny you said that. I want to say hello to those from Tennessee Backyard Wrestling. Their season finale is going to be on 8 o'clock Eastern time. And yes,
Yeah, I
to the
like them
manager
guys,
of
man.
TPW. Yes, I will definitely be tuning in throughout the evening there. I think it's in between when I go back on and when I'm in a break. So yes, I will definitely be tuning in. I want to get to somebody else that wants to say something to you in a second. But when it comes to a company like this that's actually been around since 1999. Here's a
Yeah,
company in Forever EBW that is one of the longest running companies around. I mean, whatever you want to call it, it's one of the longest running companies around. Do you feel that maybe there's jealousy from certain people, the infamous Montana, and the success that you've had, and maybe even your colleagues in the Golden Dynasty, because you guys really, in the time you've been here, have maybe surpassed many that have called this company home? Is that fair for me to ask?
Um, until we get in the locker room, yeah. When we're in the locker room, everybody's looking at me like this.
Yeah, that's the
But
old
while
adage.
I'm,
That's the old
but while I'm,
adage.
once I hit that curtain, and Dynasty's hitting that curtain, I feel like that vibe has changed, and you can
Mm,
just hear the crickets chirping because when you hear
mm,
the chirping, that's letting you know those are words
mm,
that are being spoken. So you know what I'm
mm.
saying? Yeah,
Well, you know what? I will tell people that if you'd actually like to find out what EBW Forever has to offer, I would certainly encourage you to do that. I've actually made it very simple and easy for you because I'm going to
mm,
read off a couple different links that we have here in the banner. So if
that's
you'd
it.
like to be able to support EBW, you can follow Forever EBW on Instagram at EBW underscore wrestling underscore Inc. YouTube, where you can watch how the season ended at Forever EBW 8530. And by the way, I love the setup that EBW Forever has because it's almost like you're in this big, giant, like space, almost like in nowhere. You've got like all these woods, and it feels like the trees could be wrestlers, the way the
Yeah,
wind is blowing, and you have people driving by one side of the road, and you wonder, like, okay, well, who's really my audience? And it's just really a really nice setup. Some people don't have the setups that EBW has, Forever EBW, and that's why you want to follow and watch all the great content that Forever
yes,
EBW has to
yes,
offer on YouTube, especially at Forever EBW 8539. And what I love about EBW, especially the Forever side, is that you can watch these matches and not have to sit there and watch the full 4 hour show, 3 hour show. You can
yeah,
sit there
man,
and watch
yeah,
match by match by match by match because sometimes, we love all the companies on Sportswire, but it's so much easier and refreshing that I can sit there and watch one 20-minute match and go, boom, okay. And then I go to the next one and go to the next one. And I think that's why I
mhm,
want people to subscribe again on YouTube at Forever EBW 8539. Also, TikTok and Twitter, Forever EBW. And get this, if you want to buy merchandise to support Forever EBW, designbyhumans.com, backspace shop, backspace EB Wrestling. Very simple. Very,
rest.
very simple. Go out there, buy merchandise. It supports this great company. It allows them to continue to do bigger and better things. And that's why, again, Twitter and TikTok also at Forever EBW. And again, for your merchandise needs, designbyhumans.com, backspace shop, backspace EB Wrestling. Now,
Yeah,
speaking of
man. Go
somebody,
get y'all merch, man. Go get y'all merch.
You better buy merchandise, and I'm sure I'll be buying merchandise soon because at this point, add it to the collection. Because at this
Yes,
point,
sir.
the only wardrobe I wear is, well, mostly wrestling shirts. But that's here nor there. Speaking of people that want to say something to you that you have an interesting history with, basically putting it in a nice way, Mr. DVG says, "My boy!" Exclamation point.
Yeah, that's
You want to
my
say
brother,
anything to him?
man. Yeah, I love him. That's my brother. I'm glad you're inducting him into your Hall of Fame because
Well,
he
you know
fought.
what? I mean, I might want to induct you soon into the Hall of Fame. I mean, you want to be in the Hall of Fame? I mean,
I would
you know what?
love to be in the Hall of Fame, Rev.
You know what? I want to do. You know what? You said real talk. Yeah, I said you said. You know what? I'm gonna do it here because it is my platform and the committee. It's a 100% unanimous vote. This isn't like the Hall of Fame committee in football. Well, we gotta wait 20 years, or the baseball Hall of Fame committee where one guy said, well, he took HGH. I don't want to put him in, or it's the
Oh man.
it's the any other hall, or the WWE Hall of Fame committee where they it's really I don't even know how they select these things. So maybe I should ask because you are the part of the longest reigning EBW Forever Tag Team Champions in history. You're currently the EBW IR champion, right? You've currently and previously been in Pro Wrestling Illustrated. So maybe I should ask it. You know what? As the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportswire Radio, the #1 global radio station, the people's radio station, and your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters, the
All
infamous
wrestling.
Montana, would you like to be a part of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame?
Oh man, bro. Yeah. Bro, that is amazing. I would love that. I would love that. Thank you for that opportunity. Oh my gosh, bro. Tom,
Well,
yes, bro. Bro. Yes, bro.
Well,
Yes.
congratulations. You punched your ticket into history, and we'll certainly bring you back on. And I'll have a speech. I'll certainly say a few words. We also give those that are inducted. We give
Oh
them
man.
a piece, or we give them a photo on the website, which is
Okay.
sportswireradio.org, and we also give a certificate, basically like a citation. I signed the thing. I dated. I put my logo on there. It's a real certificate. So
Oh man, bro. Yes, man. I am graciously thankful.
you don't
I
have to
can't
be
thank you
grateful.
enough for
It's
that, man.
Sportswire.
Thank
Turn back into the infamous Montana. Turn back into being eviler than Tony Montana.
you.
More cool comic collector like
Oh
Joe Montana.
man.
Better than Hannah Montana. You're the infamous Montana. But obviously, we're gonna definitely, you got a really interesting story. I think in the world of wrestling, you've certainly dealt with a lot of adversity. I think that you've obviously overcome all those obstacles to be obviously the man of a company here. But obviously, let me get to some comments first. Let me get to Jackson Saber first. And he says here, to respond to your question, Rev, a little late. I know. Well, that's okay. You're here now, and I'm here to talk to you. I know Montana enough to where if I want a shot at the title, all I have to do is ask, but I don't need to because that IR title belongs to GD. Now, I heard you guys talk about this on Forever EBW. When you guys win a title, you guys all win a title. Tell me why that is.
Because we already kings, we already champions. We all gonna eat off this right here. You feel me? When one obtains something, we all obtain something. And I honestly feel like my brothers in arms, they deserve the same things that I deserve. They deserve the same things that I get. And that's just what it is. It makes us all feel better as a family. You know, when one of us hurt, we all hurt. When one of us eat, we all eat. You know what I'm saying? And it's just what it is. I keep shit simple and basic because if you add a lot of spices to the mix and everything else like that,
Yeah.
you'll get lost in taste. You don't know, damn, what is this taste right here? What you know what I'm saying?
Well,
So,
yeah, I mean that might be so. I mean, what do I know? I mean, but yeah, I mean, but I had asked Jackson this question on Monday's show, and he was actually a trivia question, my first guest in 2024. So that's kind of a nice little trivia note. But
yeah.
I had asked him this question, and but doesn't eventually over time that groups sort of go in different directions? Obviously Cassius and Max's Fatal, your cousins might in a way maybe agree, maybe not agree, but we see this all the time in wrestling history. The Four Horsemen obviously went their own ways at one point. Evolution definitely went their own way. The
Yeah.
Shield went their own way. The Bloodlines having their problems. Judgment Day, I think, is okay right now, but they've had their issues. I mean, Degeneration X has certainly had those issues. I mean, the NWO, the 20 different groups the NWO had, they certainly had their issues. But but the facts are is that if you go, wrestling history is littered with groups that eventually it runs its course and guys want to go in different directions. So why won't you guys be like those groups that go their separate ways?
The exact word, group. We're not a group. We're a family. Families don't never go nowhere. I don't care what we're doing. Of course, we all got our own missions, right? It's like, just say, for instance, me, my wife, my daughter, and my sister, right? Okay? We're a family. We wear the same T-shirts as the Thomas family, right? The whole time, every day, she's got to go to a different job. I've got to go to a different job. My sister has a different job to do. So at the end of the day, it's not necessarily just a group formation. It's a family. As a family, we all have our own jobs to take care of. So when it comes down to that road of us splitting up and everything like that, it'll never be a problem because that was always the goal from day one. It's for us to stick together as a family. You may see us apart from each other, and it may seem like dissension between the family and stuff like that. But for the most part, not like if Maxis feels like, you know what, bro, I'm just representing Golden Dynasty, but I want to do my own thing and go after Pac 14, do that. You know what I'm saying? We all have your back. If Jackson Sabre says, you know what, bro, I want to see what I can do on my own without the dynasty behind me for the next year, go on ahead and do that. There's no ill will, bro, because we're all on the same mission. But just know at the end of the day, when shit gets tough and it gets rocky and it's messed up and you need that phone call, that ear to listen to or whatever, that's what we're here for. That's what this family is about. So it's more so of a family thing over a group thing.
Was there pressure in keeping those tag team titles? I mean, obviously getting to that moment, you become the longest running EBW Forever Tag Team Champions in the company's history. But was there ever pressure?
Yeah, closer to the end, I'm gonna say, I was so elated. Do you guys remember when John Jones first won the 205 title?
Yes, yeah, I watched it. Yeah,
he said it felt better than the thing that we like to do as adults. That's kind of how it was. And then once reality set in, a few months later, and you're like, damn, now what are you doing? You got to keep them. You got a target on your back. You got to be more progressive with the things that you're doing so people can't predict who you are.
Sure.
So yeah, the pressure built. The pressure definitely built. But throughout that pressure building, it created a diamond.
What does it mean to you then to be in the history books as a part of the longest running Forever EBW Tag Team Champions in the company's history?
It means a lot to me, and I hope it means a lot to them. You know what I'm saying? Because honestly, like you said, this company's been around since 1999.
It's a long time. I mean, that's you think about that for a second. It's a big deal.
Oh yeah, honestly, and it's 2024 now. And that says a lot to who we are as a whole. It says a lot to our competitiveness, our spirit, and just showing the company like, we can run with the ball. Hand me the ball, bro. My arms are wide. Give it here. I got it. I ain't letting it go. So, you know what I mean?
Listen, you get the ball, and you know what? Anything can happen with it. I mean, listen, Joe Flacco was on a couch 5 weeks ago, and he leads the Cleveland Browns in the playoffs.
He's balling, right? Yeah.
You don't know in life. Let me get to something, though, that Mr. DVG wants to say. By the way, DVG, we're inducting on January the 20th, 2 weeks from today, I believe, 10 o'clock Eastern time. So be there or be square. But he wants to do something important about EBW. Also, Jackson Sabre, since the public doesn't know at the moment, I figure I would announce it. The EBW Hoax Championship is getting a brand new look to honor the memory of Ronnie Hoax. You'll love it. 25 years of EBW. Let me ask you a question. Right. Obviously, Jackson won that. And let me ask you in a general way, especially for the audience that maybe doesn't know, what did Ronnie Hoax mean to you in the company? Just, knowing the history of it. What did Ronnie Hoax, you think, mean?
Well, to me, I had already had to get caught up to speed. I didn't actually get the chance to meet Ronnie. I didn't actually get the chance to wrestle Ronnie. Doing my history and stuff like that, because I dig deep before I get into anything, man. I realized who he was how much he meant to the guys that were wrestling with them, how much he meant to the company and the people that were around him. He was a true blessing, to just have as a friend. And from what I could see, and from the guys and the people that's around me, listening to the stories and feeling the souls and the spirits, that are being very live, and just looking into people's eyes when they talk about Ronnie, you can see the glares, you can see the happiness, you can just feel the uplifting of the spirit, talking and speaking the name Ronnie Hoax. Jackson Sabre was one of his last opponents. You know what I'm saying? And for Sabre to be next to me like that, and also now be carrying a title that brandishes his name, you know what I'm saying? It means a little more than what people should know. I'm a big fan of love. I honestly am. I'm a big fan of love. And everybody in that company had love for Ronnie Hoax. So just through spirit. And it feels weird sometimes when the wind blow. It's blowing a little different out there. I think he's always with us in spirit. Always get me a nice, good little prayer up to my granddad and everything like that before I wrestle and stuff. So whole time, Ronnie means something more than just a friend to me. He feels like family, spiritually.
Well, I can assure you that he's looking down. He's very happy that you're a part of this company. This company is going to continue to grow and go on to bigger and better things, and that this company's product is going to be seen in thousands and thousands of homes this year. That's why we love Forever EBW. We want people to follow Forever EBW on many platforms, and especially, first of all, on Instagram at underscore EBW underscore wrestling underscore Inc. Also YouTube at Forever EBW 8539. Twitter and TikTok at Forever EBW. And if you want to buy some merchandise to support this great company, designbyhumans.com /shop EB wrestling, as simple as 1, 2, 3. Also, Ronnie passed away in 2021. Rest in peace. I never got to meet him either, but he means a lot to Sabre, hence why Sabre holds that championship. And also, Mr. DVG wants to tell us that he is editing matches for EBW Pro. We might even see some of them starting on Monday. So maybe I'm going to get a chance to watch you on YouTube. We're going to watch you on YouTube at EBW Pro, where you win that EBW IR championship from Austin James. When I induct you into the Hall of Fame next month, I can talk about that match and why. We definitely talk about that. So definitely that would be something I think a lot of people would love to see. And maybe we'll even do it Super Bowl weekend, because obviously you're a Super Bowl kind of guy. So, but I won't do it during the Super Bowl, because it's the Super Bowl. I actually, for those who are listening and watching, if you want to come on Sportswire, let me have a few hours of a break and watch the Super Bowl, because I feel like everybody give me a few hours of a chance. But
bro, get that game in, because the Ravens gonna be in it. So
I tell you what, they look really good this year. I think the Ravens, even what they did to San Francisco, what they did to Miami, Detroit, Seattle, I mean, Baltimore, it might be their year. I'll tell you that much. So, very well, they could be, it could be their moment to return to the Super Bowl, win their third Super Bowl. And John Harbaugh cements his legacy in the Hall of Fame. Let me get to some more comments, though. Being sick for 3 weeks sucks. Sorry for the week. Yeah, I had that in October. I was saying on the air, I went to Expendables, and like right around the time of my birthday, I was sick for the entire month. So yeah, unfortunately, unfortunately, I actually know somebody who passed away last week for the same reason. He got his son.
Oh man.
Yeah, his son. Yeah, he was a guy who was actually a ex-professional basketball player. Went to UMass. We used to work together doing, snow shoveling, and he was a guy that lived in my neighborhood. And unfortunately, he passed away. He had a undiagnosed heart disease and dropped dead from a heart attack. And he got sick from his son. Yeah, his son, not to bring people down, but his son got sick. He caught the same thing, and then went to the gym, started working out, and then felt something, and then he dropped dead. So unfortunately, that was really, and I went to his service on Thursday, and it was like, and I hate to say this, you'll probably appreciate this. I've gone to like hundreds of wakes, and this one, I was actually like, really like, that was difficult. Let me just say that. But speaking of people that will also be in the Hall of Fame in March, just recently celebrated a birthday from California. His name is Skulls, the Soul Hunter. Skulls, how you doing? Skulls, give me a big shout out on his show. He's on Skulls Talks on YouTube. His second show just aired Check him out. He's got 299 subscribers. Subscribe to him. He'll be at 300. He's trying to get to more subscribers. Go and support the man. I want to ask you some questions for the remaining part of the show that I think a lot of people would like to know about you. You've obviously established this comeback. You've obviously had some success. You're our reigning, defending EBW IR champion. You were the longest running forever EBW tag team champion. But, what were some of your best matches in your career?
I ain't gonna lie. I think my ladder match, the 4-way ladder match, Infamous Montana, Max's Fatale, Austin James, and the Perfect Man Double G for the world title. That was one of my favorite matches, and probably winning this IR championship was my most prestigious moment in my career. So
when you won the championship, right? When you won it last month. I mean, was there a moment that you kind of had with yourself in the championship alone? Sometimes people have those moments. Kevin Nash famously as Diesel wins the championship at Madison Square Garden. He talked about kind of just being alone with the championship. And, Shawn Michaels kind of goes over to him. They talked about this in his documentary. And he kind of said, all right, I'll let you go. Stay with the title. Certainly, there's plenty of stories of how people react when they win the championship the first time. But, when you win this title, a major prestigious title of a company that, Ricardo Rodriguez is certainly works in, and, Shane Douglas has been a part of, was there a private moment that you had? You don't have to go in details about what you did, but was there that moment or talk about it?
Definitely, man. Look, I came through the curtain. I'm holding the title across my shoulder and everything. I'm looking at the guys, they're high-fiving and showing me love and everything, and I went and took a seat. I sat down for a minute, and as I sat down, I looked over at the title, and I'm like, damn, this is real, bro. This is like, do you know what just happened in your life, man? And I picked the title up, and I walked to the door. And as I walked to the door, it's just like that moment of defiance. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you did it. Everything that you talked about, everything that you dreamed about, the things that you risked your body and your life for, all the traveling and everything else, that moment came. Yes, it did.
Do you feel your career now has been cemented that, hey, you know what? Yeah, I've now, you have to take me on a different level. Not to say that you weren't taken seriously, but to hold a world title pretty much for all intents and purposes. Do you feel like your career has now been forever, to basically pun intended, to forever EBW, although this is EBW Pro, but do you feel like your career now, I thought it was funny, did you feel that your career now has been forever cemented?
In a way, yeah, but in a way, no, because I'm not done. Nowhere near.
Well, we know, listen, you're going to, like I said, you're going to be in, many other places, in the next few years. I won't know you 2 years from now.
But for people to know that I'm here, yes.
Yeah, I think that's my general point.
Hey, look, Austin James said it the best after he whipped my ass at the previous show before
at the October show, yes, which was on my birthday, ironically, yes.
You ain't got to like me, but you damn sure gonna respect me.
He did say that after the match. Yes, he did say that, and you guys definitely had a really physical match. That match I watched, by the way, but Austin, I know Austin very well. I've watched Austin a lot, so I know his style, but. Yeah, that match there was something to that match. There was definitely a intense rivalry there. There was definitely something, what you guys did to each other. That's a match I want people to, by the way, go and watch on EBW Pro's YouTube page. Watch that match, because I promise you, all you have to do is just sit there, do nothing else, put everything to a side, watch the infamous Montana and Austin James have a Donnybrook for that EBW IR title, which he holds right now. Skulls wants to say, yes, Valley Wrestling Connection, definitely good friends of ours. My buddy Jarrell Diaz was a part of the company, and then also Darryl Johnson is the Wrestling Warzone Connection in California. Absolutely. The ladder match was crazy. But speaking of California, though, champ, I was wondering, would you like to travel more in wrestling? Are there other places that you've traveled that maybe we don't know about, or places that would you like to travel in wrestling? I know we were speaking about this off the air, and I was curious.
Yeah, oh man, I would love to travel. California, Texas, things like that. I would love
we had Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is this Texas Ground Zero wrestling champion for 1,100 days. I am sure you've heard all about this from Chase Wakefield, who is now Aaron Jones' best friend. Although Aaron was on here, Aaron was like, I don't think he saw Chase Wakefield the same way Chase Wakefield saw as him. But that's a different
Yeah.
story for a different time. But Texas, I'm sure Aaron Jones could maybe hook you up there.
Man, I met Aaron Jones maybe twice at DBW,
Yep.
and he's like the coolest guy to talk to. He's
He's
like
the
the
real
funniest
cowboy.
dude.
He's like a real cowboy. He's like
Yeah,
legitimately
man.
like a cowboy.
Bro, when I tell you a different walk of life,
Yeah,
you can
that's
hear
how
it in that man's voice. Like something's different. He's a cowboy for real.
he's got the country music. He's the guy that sits there, probably got cowboy boots in a bar, and
Yep,
he's
yep.
like a pure like cowboy. Like but it's
Yeah,
worked
man.
because he's a pro wrestler and he's been really successful and he's won like countless championships. And yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. But Texas, if Chase Wakefield also is wrestling in Texas, you got to wrestle in
Wow.
Texas. Texas could be a good one. Any other places you like to wrestle?
Well, let me see. I've already been to Atlantic City. I've been to Gloucester City, New Jersey,
Yeah,
numerous
I know that from
times.
EBW. Yep.
Salisbury, I've been there. Hagerstown, Maryland, I've been there. I've wrestled in numerous counties in the state of Maryland. I'm trying to get to New York City right now.
I was gonna say that. It's funny you said that because one of my buddies, although he's injured on the shelf, and I was speaking with him a few days ago, he trained from House of Glory. He was trained from House of Glory. His trainer was the Amazing Red. Everybody knows the Amazing
Oh
Red.
wow, yeah,
And
yeah,
I always ask him, well, I know all these people in DBW, EBW, Forever EBW. Did you want to wrestle these guys? Because he wrestled a couple times. I watched him twice, and then he got hurt. He had a knee injury. And I would love to see some of the guys here who were kind of just outside there, because like EBW, DBW, Forever EBW, you guys are just outside of the area. And I would love to see you guys one time in New York so I could actually watch you guys actually live, because that would be nice.
yeah, man. Shit, I would love it too. We're trying to expand, business on the inside. We're trying to do things and
I
move
understand.
around.
I understand. Don't explain it on
Yeah.
air. Don't
So,
explain
but
it
the
on air.
guys that's up in New York, I think there are two different promotions. One is UWFNY,
Yes,
and
UWFNY. Yes, we definitely know them very well. If it's
yeah,
from if I can say it's
yeah,
Scorpion the Assassin. Yes.
yes, sir, yes, sir,
And then let me
and
guess the other one, Devon McDonald.
NUW.
Yes, at Yeti W.
Yeah,
Yes, Mr.
Newburgh.
Devon
Uh,
McDonald. Yep,
I would
in
love to
Newburgh.
wrestle. I would love to wrestle Joe like a boss.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I actually
I
know
love to
Joe like a
wrestle Joe
boss.
like a boss, man. He's
Hmm.
cool. I listen to some of his music, and those
Hmm.
guys got it going on up there. So
UWF would be a good one because there's actually a lot of the DBW and EBW guys. I think Havoc and Ego have been up in UWF, and NUW is obviously a lot of the DBW talent. So yeah, that's actually some good ones. I actually was supposed to get on Navon McDonald, but then he
yeah,
wound up dropping the Anarchy title, and he's obviously had different things on his plate. That would be good places. UWF, by the way, you might be
yeah.
in luck. UWF coverage, I believe, is coming to Sportswire
Okay.
in the coming months. Let me say
Yeah,
hello to a few more people. I want to say hello to my buddy last night who joined my team on Sportswire. Green Bay Packers fan for now, Mr. Ron Franklin. Obviously, good luck to your
okay.
Packers tomorrow. Good afternoon. Thank you for
Yeah,
that.
it's going, big
Skulls
bro.
wants to tell me Total Violent Wrestling is looking for new talent that is being launched in March. Yes, I believe in California, though. So give me more details, and I will
Yeah.
talk that on the air next time for sure.
Okay.
I appreciate that, Montana. I'll always be the enforcer of Golden Dynasty, but it's time to make 2024 my year. I got my own business to take care of, and like a band who reunites, the dynasty will be stronger after. But what does that mean, though? That's a rather you know interesting comment there. I mean, you've
He's
talked
sticking.
about two different
He's
fans.
sticking to. He's sticking to his goals. You know what I'm saying? He's sticking to his goals, man. And just like everything else in life, you gotta advance. I'm not gonna hold anybody back. I'm not gonna make somebody be stagnant. If he feels like he needs to spread his wings, fly from the coop and soar and do what he has to do, that's 100% fine. But he knows where to come to when he needs his help. He needs that conversation. If he needs those training sessions, whatever the case may be, we'll be here. At least I will be, because I can't speak the same thing for Max's Fatal. He has a vendetta with me, bro.
Well, you know what? Maybe one day those guys come on to Sportswire Radio. I mean, I definitely know those guys very well. I've watched them quite a bit, certainly in DBW and certainly following them in EBW and Forever EBW. Listen, you never say never. And those
Yeah.
guys certainly bring some great elements to the table. And listen, we want to speak to everybody on sports because, as I always say, all wrestling matters on Sportswire. It doesn't matter if you're in the yard, quote unquote, or the underground, or the death matches like Jimmy Controversy, Mikey Anarchy, Hardcore and Obey, whether you're in the pros, the indies, Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and a bag of chips. All wrestling matters here at Sportswire. We love all wrestling here. But yeah, maybe I would say the deathmatch style, maybe that's not something you should try right away. Because I do think it takes a certain type of wrestler to kind of go out and do what Jimmy does and Dirty Ron does, and Tarzan Duran, and Hardcore, and Mikey Anarchy. What those guys do, I mean, you guys do a lot in the ring, but those guys certainly,
they're on another level with it. They're on another level with it. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen air conditioners, refrigerators. I've seen sinks. I've seen pizza cutters with barbed wire on them. I mean, I've seen. Thumbtacks. I've seen glass. I mean, these guys, I've seen syringe needles being put into Hardcore's mouth. I mean, they just go out there and do it on a whole other level. And I asked the guys, I was like, how do you feel about it? Like, well, I like it. I get used to it, and they're kind of numb to it. So, God bless them. But that's here nor there. But obviously, come to the end of the show. And certainly it's been an absolute honor to have you. Is there anything else that you might want to say to anybody, let's say, first of all, an EBW pro that might want to come and take you a championship back in March?
Anybody at EBW pro. You think you can come and take what the infamous Montana is holding? You got another thing coming. I'm taking on all comers, all match stipulations. Does not matter to me how big, how tall, how short, whatever. Holler at me if you think you want this property, dog. Anybody at EBW Pro. I would love to run it back with Slim Whiskey. I would love to have my chance in the ring with Ricardo Rodriguez.
Oh,
I would love to have my chance in the ring with a homeless Vaughn. You know what I'm saying? Doing things like that, those guys are good. And all I want to do is make my brand go higher and get better within the day. So, yeah, anybody at EBW Pro, step up, bro. Holler at me.
I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I'm looking forward to EBW Pro upcoming very soon. And that's going to take place in March. But in the meantime, you can watch all of their great content on EBW Pro's YouTube page. Also, follow them on Instagram and Facebook, and definitely support those. And then, by the way, they're in Gloucester, New Jersey, so not too far from here. If you have a chance.
Yeah, that's a wrestling city, boy. They love it out there. That's a wrestling city. I love it out there.
Yeah, that's always that South Jersey community, that Atlantic City, Jackson, Cherry Hill, Gloucester, those areas like Cape May over there, those have always been big time, old school. In fact, they were even old school NWA towns. I believe that was kind of that was the one area that was like the old, even though it was a WWF era, but that was actually a Flair area. That was that area in Jersey. That's kind of like a very unique area. Always had a rich history for wrestling. Always a big, rich history for the NWA. So I agree with you completely.
Oh yeah, man. Hey, look, I'm even honored to be out there, just knowing the history behind that area. Straight up, man.
Yeah, I mean the history there. I mean, people like those towns. Those were wrestling towns. When you're in those places there, obviously, Baltimore has that. Baltimore was always an old NWA stronghold, even though WWF would go in there, capital city. But the fact was that, that was still, NWA territory. So the fact that you're in these towns, that's why you want to support them. Obviously, the owner of the company, we're not going to say his name, does a phenomenal job in EBW Pro, and I want people to follow it. But, before I ask you to close this, obviously we're going to bring you back next month. I want to remind people one more time, he will be inducted into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame next month. Our EBW IR champion of the world, the longest reigning part of the tag team champions and forever EBW of Golden Dynasty, Mr. Infamous Montana. But, I did want to ask you, before I get to close this, was there a most memorable or favorite rivalry or enemy of your career?
Yeah, Austin James. Austin James.
Yeah.
That boy, iron sharpens iron. That's what I know. Iron sharpens iron. And if I could say that, it was most memorable and hard-hitting and lovable, Austin James.
Yeah, he's kind of all flavors there, all flavors pretty much. Like you said, all the spices, like you said earlier.
Yeah, he can do
All the
whatever,
spices,
man.
but definitely, he definitely hits hard in the ring, and he definitely does the talking in the ring. And I've had him here on Sportswire, but I know he does a lot more in the ring, and he mixes it up. And he's definitely a guy that I think that we haven't seen the last of between you and him for sure,
Not at
wherever
all.
it might
Not
be.
at all. Yeah, not at all, man. I'm challenging him right now.
You're challenging Austin James right now live,
Yes, sir.
and that would be an EBW Pro for your championship.
No, I'm challenging him for something else that he has right now.
Ooh, I think you're talking about. Seems to me like that forever EBW championship that he might hold. You might want
Yes,
to take his
sir.
championship, yeah.
I'm coming to take everything from him. They took everything from me. I'm taking everything back.
So it sounds like that you've actually now gone on the record before we sign off in that you are challenging to kick off our season coming up, season 12 in Forever EBW, Austin James World Heavyweight Championship. You want to add more gold to your arsenal, and you really want to be the belt collector, huh?
Yes, sir. Golden Dynasty for a reason.
Well, you know what? They certainly do call it a dynasty, and right now in sports, there really isn't too many dynasties. I guess maybe you could say if the Chiefs somehow, which I think it's going to be difficult odds for them this year, that if
Yeah.
they win the Super Bowl this year, maybe they
Yeah.
would be a dynasty with 3 Super Bowls in 5 years. But the facts are right now, currently, there are very few dynasties. But maybe this year in 2024, will we see the Golden Dynasty become the premier dynasty? Because right now, ladies and gentlemen, on our screen, the EBW IR champion, Mr. Infamous Montana. We know in forever EBW, Jackson Sabre holds the Hoax belt. We know that tag team titles, the Pac 14 title could be back in the horizons for the Golden Dynasty, and who knows what else is on their minds.
Yes,
That's
sir.
why we certainly are looking forward to the future and EBW Pro to kick off in March, and that's why we're looking forward to Forever EBW to return also later in the month of March in spring. So certainly spring
Yeah.
is not that far away. We are now
Nah,
just
man.
about winter is 20% over as of tomorrow. That means
Thank
we're
God.
not I count every day, every second down. I used to be a cold weather person. No more.
No
Please
more.
give me global burning. I don't want winter minus 20. I don't want snow anymore.
Global burning.
Give me 60 degrees and up so we can see you guys back in the ring, so we can
Yeah.
see everybody get it on. I want to see you finish Sean Newman. I want to see Austin James. I want to see RJ Rodriguez. I want to see Robert Pearson answer about
Yeah.
his haircut. Jacob Cassidy take off that cowboy hat. I want to see all
Yeah.
of it, and I want all of it to come back here in a couple of months on Sportswire Radio. But before then, we are going to induct you into our Hall of Fame. That'll be our honor. But until then,
Thank
I
you.
want to give you the floor, give you some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say, Champ, the floor is most certainly yours. Fire away.
I'm honored. Thank you again, Reverend Tom Bryce. Thank you. I want to tell every child out here listening and every person listening. It don't matter how old you get, man. Shoot for the stars. Fight hard for what you believe in and go get it. Be a go-getter, yo. Sitting on your tail ain't gonna get you nowhere. Wishing and hoping and crying and complaining over spilled milk that you really could have wiped up an hour ago, bro, and moved on about it. Yo, follow them dreams, chase your dreams. I'm not gonna sit here and tell nobody no bull crap. I really would love for everybody to shoot for the stars. Do not be content with being an average person. Move on with life. Life is so great. There's so much to it. Go get yours, because I got mine, and I'm going to keep getting it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you one thing. The infamous Montana, he's not average. He's a Hall of Famer. So clearly he's done it. He's clearly defied the odds. He clearly went out there and grabbed that brass ring, and he reached it, and he got it and some. And that's why he's holding one of the premier prizes in this sport today.
Yes,
As
sir.
the reigning, defending EBWIR champion of the world. And when they return in the ring coming up in March, He's going to be defending it, upholding it, maintaining it, and be your reigning champion for months and months to come. And this man has
He ain't
also
going
been in the pro
nowhere.
wrestling. He has been in the Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine. He has been in Forever EBW, part of the longest reigning tag team champions in that company's history.
Yes,
And this
sir.
man is only just getting started. As I said prior, the best is yet to come for this man. And I can't wait to have him back next month to officially take his place in history. My
I can't
friend,
wait, man.
Happy New Year. Congratulations on all of your success. I'm looking forward to having you back to take your place in history here, forever history, in the Hall of
Yeah.
Fame next month. Title looks good on you. We look forward to seeing you defend it. I look forward to watching it on the EBW Pro YouTube page, how you won that title, and keep doing what you're doing. We'll see what the Golden Dynasty has to offer here as well coming up in the near and distant future. And thank you so much for your time. And I look forward to inducting you in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame next month.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate all your time, man, and I appreciate all your hard work that you do. Keep working like you do, man. You're the guy. You're the man.
You're the champion, sir. Whatever you say, sir. I'm gonna just do what you say. You're the champion. You're a pretty big guy in the ring. You got a lot of tattoos. You look great. You're in shape. I'm certainly not
Yes,
gonna mess
sir.
with you. I'm certainly gonna do whatever you say. So yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Montana. I know you're as evil as Tony Montana. I know you
Yeah.
look a lot better than Hannah Montana, and you're certainly much more cool, calm, and collected, and better in the clutch than Joe
Yeah.
Montana. So I'm not gonna argue with you, and that's why, ladies and gentlemen, we were honored tonight to be with the brand new EBW IR champion of the world, Mr. Infamous Montana, who won that at Winter Meltdown against Austin James. We're also going to see him a part of the Golden Dynasty this year upcoming in EBW Pro and also in Forever EBW as the Golden Dynasty looks to get back on track and retain goals such as those tag team championships where they were the longest running tag team titles in that company's history, maybe Pac 14 title, maybe Hoax Memorial title, retain also that World Heavyweight Championship, which live here on Sportswire Radio that the infamous Montana has now decided he's declaring to go after against Austin James. You can find out all of that here on EBW Pro, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Forever EBW _wrestling_inc, YouTube Forever EBW 8539, Twitter and TikTok Forever EBW. Also, if you want to buy merchandise, www.designbyhumans.com/shop/EB Wrestling. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters, the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportswire Radio, the #1 global radio station. If you're on sportswireradio.org, you're going to go back to your regularly scheduled programming. If you're on YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn, I should be back 10 o'clock Eastern time with Big Tex of DBW. But until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, on the #1 global radio station that is Sportswire Radio.